Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone in this room, and also those that are joining the live stream. It's a great pleasure to have you here today, joining one of those 4 breakout sessions that Staria organized for this first ever Staria Growth Summit. It used to be called Staria Day in the past, so this is the first one rebranded to Staria Growth. Let's come in. The name of the breakout session, as you can see on the screen, is how to get the most out of your NetSuite investment. And me and my dear colleague Laura hope that you'll find the content of this session insightful and that will actually spark some good ideas and promote some knowledge sharing amongst all of us, because that's what we believe these events are really about. Sharing is caring, and that's what we like to do at Staria. So thank you, and Laura now will introduce ourselves.
So welcome from my side as well. Short introduction, so we won't keep you waiting for the actual business. So my name is Laura Hlavaty-Lehtinen. Thank you. Yeah, we have a height difference, even though pretty much I feel like I'm tall, but compared to him with high heels, no, Mike is missing. So I work at Staria as the head of service management at professional services, as well as SMO lead at Staria. And here next to me, I have my colleague, NetSuite solution architect, Ondřej Nečas. Did I pronounce it now correctly?
Perfectly.
Thank you. And we are here to talk about how you get most out of your NetSuite investment. So in the agenda here, we have divided into 3 parts. First, Ondřej will talk about the expanding NetSuite, so with the actual NetSuite native solutions, as well as Staria solutions, and then customizations. I will be then focusing on the partnership and how to get most out of NetSuite investment in that sense. In the end, we will have Q&A session, so you can save your questions in the end. So both here in the room, as well as in the chat. So Nora is looking into the chat, so in the end she will be then reading those aloud. So without further ado, Ondřej.
Thank you very much. So let's get started with the actual presentation. Before we dive into the expanding NetSuite part, let's spend a minute just talking about NetSuite in general. I know that there is a mixed audience of people from companies already using NetSuite and also people from companies considering NetSuite as their future ERP. So I'll try to give you a little bit of a holistic picture there. NetSuite, on NetSuite website, it stands one suite, any business. And after having implemented and participating in implementation for tens of different companies, I can definitely identify with that statement. Just by looking at the list of companies attending today's event, you can see that there are companies from various different industries, from wholesale distribution, manufacturing, software services, retail, really a broad variety of different kinds of companies that are able to use NetSuite, and NetSuite is a modular solution that can support those companies. NetSuite provides, a thorough, a broad network of localization partners, which will then enable you to grow into pretty much any market that and any country that you need. There is a fun fact, actually. If you look up the number, or if you ask Google how many countries there are in the world, you get a number of 195. How many do you think that NetSuite supports out of those 195? Any tips?
200.
That's a good one. 198. Okay, let's see. 217. So you can see how visionary NetSuite is. And this is directly from NetSuite website. So basically, apologies. If you look at it, it's 22 more countries that NetSuite is able to support that have not even been founded yet. I found it kind of impressive when I saw it, right? So I thought I would share with you. But obviously, it's written there that it's 217 countries and territories. So that's where from the difference very likely comes. But jokes aside, basically, the idea is that NetSuite can really support you in your growth to many different locations. It doesn't mean that there are 217 different localizations, of course. The localization solution is something else from just being able to operate in that country. But it really proves the flexibility of the system to support you on your growth journey. Let's move on to next slide. So the first thing that you need to consider if implementing NetSuite or even expanding NetSuite is what it takes to implement it. So it's a very first step if you really want to get the most out of the NetSuite or pretty much any system. I mean, this is really a generic advice. The first thing that you need to do is really properly and well implement the system. I believe that there are like 3 main pillars, if you take a look at the slide, which kind of supports the successful implementation. The first one is that the implementation takes time. There's simply no other way around it. It needs to be properly planned. It needs to be properly scheduled in your team calendars, and you need to make sure that your internal resources will have time to support the implementation team. And the second pillar is resources, which kind of also corresponds with the time. So it is really important to have determined team of people internally. Now I'm mainly focusing on what it takes from the company end, assuming that Staria would provide experts on the implementation team. But when it comes to what it takes from the company side, it also takes resources, it takes the experts. It's necessary to provide detailed and comprehensive requirements to the implementation team, which is kind of what belongs to the third pillar, skills, knowledge, and communication, because you can have the most experienced team in the world, but if you don't share the requirements properly, they are not able to configure and customize the system to your needs as you would need to. So looking at these 3 pillars, having those things considered, and Laura will talk a little bit more about, for instance, the timeline aspect, trying to perhaps optimize the implementation in a way you go with a phased approach instead of trying to go with a big bang and implement all countries, all functionalities at the same time. So Laura will talk about this section a little bit more. And there is, in the third pillar, there is also one additional point to mention, and that is the system will be as good as your users will be able to use it, meaning that you need to educate your users. There are a bunch of materials that we can refer to. For instance, I would recommend looking at the LCS Pass, which is one of the resources that you can definitely use to get trainings directly from NetSuite. It's a learning portal where you can get a lot of self-paced trainings. There is usually one pass coming with each new implementation, but if you are already existing NetSuite user, then you might need to check with either a service manager or with the sales team how to get the LCS pass. But it's not just about this LCS pass. It's mainly about educating the users what are the capabilities of the system and how to use it properly. Because especially when it comes to knowing what are the capabilities of the system, unless you know what the system can do, you might not even think about asking the question like, how can I do this or that? But if you go through a couple of these trainings and you see different examples of what is possible, then you will start thinking about how can I apply this to what I do every day and what I would need the system to provide. Now, expanding NetSuite with standard NetSuite add-on modules. And this is going to be just an example of what we've seen companies need on their growth journey. It doesn't mean that it doesn't apply to new implementations. Of course, it does. But when it comes to the new implementations, we would usually, as a consultants, question the needs during the analyze phase or even pre-sale phase of the project. So we would know what the company needs. But when it comes to expanding NetSuite, let's now focus a little bit more on those of you who already are using NetSuite and perhaps are thinking about expanding it. There are a couple of examples of growing with the new modules that I can share with you. Let's imagine that you are perhaps expanding your product catalog. You are bringing up new services. Nowadays, it's very popular and attractive to get sort of ARR type of revenue in the company. So anything license-based, can be very attractive from a P&L and reporting of revenue perspective. And for this, if your company decides that you will come up with something like that, with service that would be license-based, then perhaps you might need to handle revenue recognition, or there are also additional features or modules such as suite billing, zone billing, all those additional features and modules that you could take advantage of when thinking this kind of direction of perhaps expanding to license-based services. But the idea is that you can implement these kind of modules even after you have gone live with NetSuite and you grow into getting or needing a new module to be implemented. Another example might be, for instance, that your company is a startup. At the beginning, you don't have pretty much any assets. Everything is rented. But as you grow and you open up new offices, new facilities, you grow in other countries, you end up in a situation when you have many, many more assets to take care of, and then you will start looking into having an automated solution for depreciation. And if you already have NetSuite, you might consider implementing fixed asset management. One of the additional examples. Obviously, if you're a company like anything that regards manufacturing or warehouse distribution, where you have lots of assets at the beginning of the implementation, this is something that you would probably already have initially. But I'm trying to give you some examples of what can happen on the growth journey. One of the modules that we have seen being implemented after the initial implementation is SRP, or suite projects, where the example again might be that initially you don't need to have any system to manage your projects. Everything is done perhaps just in Excel. But as you grow, you find that it's very difficult to have everything just in Excel spreadsheets, and you would need some professional tool that can be also implemented with other modules in NetSuite. So this is where it comes really interesting, because you can start combining suite projects with revenue recognition, with billing, and basically it all becomes like a centralized and compact package of a solution. So that is another example. Then let's say that you are growing into new territories, new markets, and you would need to meet multiple accounting standards. There is again a module called Multibook that can help you to operate in multiple different accounting standards. Have a secondary book postings, and although I would make a little disclaimer here that this module is a little better off to implement from the very beginning, from the initial part of the implementation, but even if you happen to be in a situation that you consider doing it after the fact, it's still possible. So these are just a couple of examples. Obviously, it's not a full list. There are many, many more, and NetSuite has detailed descriptions of all the other ones. Again, if you are interested in expanding with new features, the best way that you can proceed, if you're already an existing NetSuite user, is to contact your service manager and get someone on a call to assess your requirements and recommend you the right module. So that would be expanding NetSuite with standard NetSuite modules. Let's move on to some of the solutions that Staria prepared for you as a part of continuous development and effort to enhance our offerings. I have just created a list of couple of them in each, not in each area, but some sample areas that I'm gonna explain, so you see what we are actually preparing. In future, there will be a catalog of these solutions that you can have a look at. But at the very moment, I can give you at least some sense of what we are preparing for you and what you could already take advantage of if you find any of these interesting. I'm not gonna talk about every single one per se, but some of them are actually self-explanatory, so you would get a sense of what they mean. So the first one is, for instance, if you have a setup where your customers are also your vendors. In that case, there might be a need for business-to-business settlement, netting of the differences between vendor bills and invoices. We have a solution for that called B2B settlements. If that is interesting for you, you can definitely hear more. GL segment control will give you the power to make segments on a line level of transactions mandatory whenever you need to make sure that users will always populate them. And it's an intuitive UI definition which you can take advantage of as well. And we have developed integration with European Central Bank for exchange rates. In a procure-to-pay area, if you're looking to have some sort of more complex and robust approval flow for creation of vendors and editing and creation of vendor bank details, that's very often required in companies, we have developed an approval flow that you can implement and take advantage of as well. Then we have a solution for creating partial creation of a fixed asset, which is very often requested as well. So we've got a reusable solution for that as well. Moving to order to cash, just to give you kind of few more examples, and then we will move on. We have a light version of recurring billing. If you have just a simple setup where you have contracts and you need to, for a period of time, issue recurring invoices, this is something that you can take advantage of. We also developed a solution for invoice reminders. So that will enhance your accounts receivable process by being able to automatically notify your customers if there are invoices overdue. In the intercompany process, if for some of you that have already been using NetSuite for a while and you know the intercompany process, the full arm's length process of creating intercompany sales order, purchase order, vendor bill invoice, you know that this process is kind of lengthy. And Staria has created an automated intercompany bill solution where you can basically, if you're not transferring any goods or materials, and you just issue invoice from one subsidiary to another. Basically, we automated the process in a way you just create invoice in the issuing subsidiary, and it will automatically create the corresponding bill in the other subsidiary, which makes the process much faster and easier to handle. And there are more of these solutions that we have prepared for you, and there are more that we will prepare in future. So again, what I would recommend is that if you are interested in any of these, contact the service manager, or if you're just considering implementing NetSuite, not running on it just now, our sales team could give you some details on those as well. So let's now move on to the next part, which is integrations. Companies very often assess the ERP systems based on its ability to be integrated in your current application landscape. Let's say that you are already using perhaps CRM solution from Salesforce or HubSpot, and you are not planning to replace that, but you are planning to incorporate NetSuite in your current application landscape. The logos that you can see on the screen are those that Staria have integrated with NetSuite in past. And it's not a full list, of course, it's just an example, but it gives you kind of proof that the system is can be very well integrated with other applications, either in cloud or on-premise. Obviously, when planning the integration or designing the integration, there are always considerations to be done. I can mention just a few of them, perhaps. Consider the data volumes, consider the frequency of the integration, consider the data mapping between the different objects, and so on and so forth. Depending on these kind of considerations, we would obviously recommend what is the best practice of integrating. It might be a direct integration, which NetSuite can do, either actively getting the data or receiving the data via SOAP or REST API. Or it can be integration through a platform. So there are quite a few integration platforms on the market. The one that we cooperate with is called Friends. We're building up a catalog of reusable integrations that you can take benefit from in future. Again, whether to use platform or whether to use a direct integration would be individual consideration depending on the considerations that I mentioned. And I will talk a little bit more about the technical methods of integration in a second. But basically, with this being said, the picture that you can see on the screen is a holistic view of NetSuite or Staria ecosystem, utilizing NetSuite as a central part, but also utilizing our partnered solutions to enhance the system even more. Really, how to get the most out of your NetSuite investment is consider the good parts of it, use those, and also consider what are the potential integrations that you can even enhance the system with. Today you saw announcement of the business and BI and planning tool called Navilog. That may be a way how you can get your reporting to a next level and also get the planning to a next level, basically being able to do budgeting and planning. You saw the demonstration a while ago, and there is also a dedicated breakout session on this topic. So if you're interested more in this detail, you can see the recording, watch the recording after we sent you links to those recordings. We also announced Staria Flow AP, which really, if you think of lifting the heavy burden out of your accounts payable team, this is one of the solutions that you would be definitely looking into to automate your AP processes. perhaps even enhancing it with a Staria AI would give you even a better performance of this tool. Integrating your banks via Staria Banking, or integrating and using travel and cost claim systems like Akubis can make your expense management walk in a park, if I put it this way, because there is existing integration between NetSuite and Akubis that Staria has built as well. So if you look at the picture from a high-level perspective, using NetSuite as a central part and then building on top of that is definitely one way of getting the most out of the system as well. And there are more and more solutions that I have not even mentioned, such as zone capture, which can be combined with the Staria Banking, zone billing, and so on and so forth. There are several additional things that I have not called specifically, but you can get benefit from them as well. Now let's move on to perhaps my favorite part, and that is NetSuite as a platform. If you think about how to really get the most out of the system, from my perspective, it's about tailoring it to your needs. And because I'm a developer myself, and this is my daily job, and over the years, I have built some really cool and interesting customizations, features, automations, or even quite complex modules that I'm going to talk about in a second. This is the way how you can really get the system to a next level if you tailor it to your needs. And there are a bunch of tools that you can see on the screen that we have available in the platform to build up those custom solutions. I'm going to mention just a few, or give you a sense of what they mean actually and how we would use them. So the suite builder is how you can create custom records, create complex database models, create custom fields, custom forms, basically get the UI to look like what you need. Then SuiteScript and SuiteFlow would be typically used as an automation tool. SuiteScript is a JavaScript-based API, which is really powerful and can build UI elements, bulk data processing, integrations, build up complex business logic. SuiteFlow is point and click, so it's easier to learn. It's a no-code feature, so it can be also utilized by non-developers. And it can be also powerful because you can use it for automating your processes, pre-populating fields, updating records. It's very often used for approval workflows. So this is usually defined with SuiteFlow. And then when you have built your customization, typically it's a concept where you build those customizations in a sandbox environment, and then you need to move them to production after they have been tested. For this, we have Suite Bundler and SDF, which are the tools that you could use to transfer the customization between different environments. And then, obviously, the data without reporting don't have any value. So there is a complex Suite Analytics tool that supports multi-join, outer joins, creating pivot tables, different views. You can place the dashboards, you can place the graphs on your home dashboard to get a holistic view of your company performance, perhaps. So this is a really powerful tool by itself. There are more ways of reporting data in NetSuite. So there are standard reports, there are safe searches, and there is this Suite Analytics. And they would be used for different purposes, for which ones we can obviously get into during some other sessions. But then if we move on to Suite Talk, as I said before, companies would very often need the system to be integrated with other applications in their landscape. So Suite Talk is, it basically means the API endpoints to get the data into NetSuite. So it can be either REST API, SOAP API. We can also build some custom API endpoints with RESTlets. That's what that custom API call type of script is called. And then we also have Suite Connect if you need to get the data out of the system via the ODBC, JDBC, or ADO.NET connectors or drivers. Then you are able to obtain the data to your on-premise solution and utilize some of your on-premise Power BI tools with NetSuite data. Now, I would like to give you one example because, like, what I'm trying to do here today mainly is to spark some ideas like what is possible. At the very moment we are building up, or this solution has already been built up. And I would like to give you this example to see what are actually possibilities in NetSuite. It's a custom solution that we have built for one of our existing clients. And the solution has been built as a custom one because there was no other standard solution that could potentially meet the requirements of the company. So it had to be built as a custom solution. Basically, here we have integration with external system, and then integration with Salesforce, which bring data to NetSuite, consolidate the data. And then we have created with a Suite Builder, we have created for this one customization over 50 different custom records, about 500 fields to kind of map the entire data model that a customer would need. And then we used SuiteScript mainly to make a powerful automation that takes the usage data. This is a billing solution, by the way. It takes a usage data from the external systems, and then it goes through rate cards and calculations, and it's very complex, actually. There are more than 100 different calculation methods that a customer required. And it goes through all these processes step by step. There are more than 30 scripts supporting this entire flow. And at the end of the day, it generates charges, which are then converted into invoices or credit notes and automatically emailed to clients. We are talking millions of records of data here, so this is really running on a huge volume of data. And the system is able to give really powerful calculation options with this solution, which cannot be basically met by any other existing solution on the market. So that's why the customer required or needed a custom solution. And with this being said, this kind of concludes my part of the presentation. And I hope that it sparked some ideas of what is possible with a system. And that if you, for instance, need anything in that sense, you would consider NetSuite being the platform to do so. So thank you very much, and I will now hand over the word to Laura.
Thanks. Now switching the microphone a bit closer here. So moving to the software part in that sense. So we went through the possibilities from customizations to Staria solutions to NetSuite standard solutions. And now focusing, I'm moving too much maybe here, moving to the partnership. So what are the benefits? What can you get out of the NetSuite investment when working with the partner? So of course, best practices and experience. You don't have to discover it all by yourself. The partner has done it multiple times. For example, Staria 250 plus implementations on many, many countries. So there are various solution designs, as Ondřej mentioned. You pick and choose your pieces, you build up the correct platform for yourself. But you don't have to do that on your own. talent pool, for example, we have 130 plus certificates. So, for example, ARM, so Advanced Revenue Management, you cannot just go ahead and implement that on your own, but a certification is needed. So I wouldn't be able to try on my own, which is brilliant. But consultants, we have various who have this experience and know what they are doing. Then local requirements. Of course, localization's topic of the day in many ways. So, for example, Croatia, it's not the same as implementing Finland. So what is needed there? There is knowledge. You don't have to go and learn everything on your own. And of course, reducing risk. When there's knowledge, the risk, of course, goes down. That is clearly one of the big things you get out of the partnership. Then some parts from the implementation project to support. So what to keep in mind when you are ready with the initial implementation? Does everything need to be ready by then? There was good conversation ongoing that it's easier to put that in pieces. So for example, choosing the countries where you want to go live first, which are the key countries for you, and then expanding that on the phases 2 and 3 and so forth. At the same time, your initial go live has happened. That part is in a support mode. So looking into it, what, for example, business needs have changed since the day one when you started the implementation? Is something additional needed due to mergers or acquisitions, for example? Have you new business, for example? That happened a while ago for a client, that they need to rethink how to build that into NetSuite as well. Then in-house knowledge, of course, determining what you want to do in-house and what partner could help you with. Who is in charge, for example, the user management, so setting up the user account for the internal users. That is, for example, for the audit purposes, really important for many. Then the partnership owner, so it's good to decide who owns the partnership within your company. Is the implementation team still the ones who are on daily basis in contact with the partner, or is it someone else? Is it already time to broaden the team as well? Then, of course, deciding on the support model. How do we work together? Do you need some help occasionally, 1 hour here and there? Or is it something that needs extensive support on a monthly basis? And everyone's favorite, documentation. It's great that you get the documentation out of the initial implementation, but it's important to keep it up to date. So whenever expanding to a new country or changing something within your system, remember to ask for the documentation. It's internal both and external. So internally, for example, guides to your users, but also the technical ones from the partner. Then governance. Everyone loves the word. Yeah, if you are not organized with a structure, how you work, it will be basically a shout out who wants and what from the company. Everyone wants what is closest to them, but then how to decide how to move forward with those, so organizing is needed. There are different project support. Here are a lot of terms. I think, is the clock, by the way, correct? So we are at 2:17, right? Yeah. Thank you. Great. So, for example, yearly clock. Let's pick a couple from here. It sounds really old-fashioned, right? So having structure is sometimes a bit old-fashioned, but it gives everyone clarity what to expect and when. How are we managing this partnership? What is the roadmap planning? How do we report on stuff? So governance definitely needed and decided on the time when things happen. Then service management, all those bits and pieces, for example, ticketing system, support development projects, those are all related to that. So it might have been in the beginning really fun to just contact a consultant and getting support from that person, but that way there will be no knowledge bank in a way. So if that person is away, no one will be able to cover. So ticketing systems and such ways of managing the support cases is needed. Then levels, there are different levels of how partner can help you. So when you send a request, the support personnel will have a look. If that person is not able to answer your question internally, we have then the knowledge that is needed. And that person can, of course, internally check with these experts, but also with the third party. So if there's a connection with our partner to some other platform, solving that issue will work hand in hand with the partner. As well, of course, with NetSuite, if there's a system related issue, then we will contact them and work closely with them. Then in the next part, let's concentrate a bit on the governance on the people side of the thing. So this is just to emphasize the importance that in the beginning it might be one-man show or two people show in a way from both sides of the table. And no massive governance is needed in that sense. But as the business grows, and here maybe called in a way unicorn phase from the startup to unicorn, definitely more organized structure is needed. You might have internal teams involved, like accounting, procure to pay, IT, development teams, audit team, and deciding who has the counter partner in a way from the partner side is needed. So structure again. Then the most important, who is the main contact? Who has the approval stamp in a way? Who can say that this is now ready for production? This is something that doesn't most likely in the back row, it's not that clear, but the main point here is that on a yearly level, it's good to look the calendar year. When are we able to internally also have the resources, for example, for UAT testing? So if there's an ongoing cycle, here there are two in the spring and one in the autumn. When are the people available? Can they do the testing then? So in a way, grouping all the enhancement developments in such way that it's easy to control internally as well. And also what needs to be taken into account are the releases that happen twice a year, when to do refreshes, when to have meetings together with the partner, when internally and such. And in the next slides, we'll have a look at a couple of those a bit more. So NetSuite releases, something that happens automatically. So you don't have to develop everything on your own, which is great. There are a long list on website where you can find what kind of new features were introduced, for example, on the first release, 2023, and what will be now. Some already maybe having those features in your environment, but what will be introduced now. It's always important to go through those within your team, and if needed, please reach out to the partner to go through what will have impact. Will it have impact to your environment? So more configurations, the more maybe then testing is needed. So there is a possibility to order a test preview, so release preview it's called, yeah. From the, it's when you log in, it's there, the portlet, right? And you can click on it and order the release preview and start testing right away when it's available. This way. Then development, so planning, that is maybe something that we have heard today a couple of times, but it's important. So development here could be a small enhancement, it could be a project, but always important when plausible to plan ahead. So what is beneficial when you have a partner and you get most out of your investment is that, for example, Staria has internal teams, accounting, AP team, payroll, maybe that you're using, and these people also benefit out of the developments that you are doing, so they can put the effort also in scoping, in testing, and helping you in this sense. Here as an example, subsidiaries, I think it's everyone's favorite, but adding a new subsidiary, it's not a copy-paste every time. There might be some bits and pieces that you can copy from country to country, but there is variance, so implementing Finland is not the same as Brazil, for sure. What also needs to be taken into account is licenses. Do you have enough subsidiaries left? Do you have the country currency left, or do you need to have more licenses in order to be able to add the subsidiary? Do you have resources available? What is the actual scope? Again, could we divide this into phases? We know that we won't have everything ready by the time we need to have the GL working up and running, so that can be done here as well. Then testing and sign off. Every time, loving the testing part as well today. So on a higher level, development process, there's a need. There's internal scoping, looking into this, is this important or not, before moving to the scoping with consultants, then to the development testing, then to UAT, maybe something is discovered and needs to go back to the development and tech testing as well, and then moving again to UAT and finally to go live. Really higher level process over here. And testing and sandbox refreshes, so something that is not always realized, but sandboxes are needed. I have heard someone saying that you just put it into production without testing, but that's definitely not the recommendation. We want to go the correct way, so sandbox is there for the testing part. Some companies might have one for development, one for UAT testing, one for training, one for something else. But the normal, quite average, is to have at least one. And when the testing is going and you have the sandboxes, remember to refresh. There is a certain count in your contract, but that, of course, it can be then optimized as well if you need more. But there is enough, so please do refresh the sandboxes occasionally, so you will have valid data to test with. Plan and order, so everything, when you know your development cycle, you can order in advance the refreshes in the calendar, which will then help you, and there's no last minute that, hey, can you do it tomorrow? But when planning, everyone in the company also is aware, with the funny calendar, for example, or some other system that you want to use to inform your internal teams with these. Then, of course, why to choose Staria? Well, the logos speak for themselves. I think we are running out of the time, so if we have questions, so we are happy to take those now.
SaaS business, the reoccurring invoicing is a really headache.
Yeah.
And you said that you have something limited for that. How limited it is?
Yeah, thanks. That's a very good question. I will repeat it for the streaming. The question was, in the SaaS business, the recurring bills are quite a headache. Thank you. And we have a solution for that called recurring billing, which basically is a solution where you can have a contract, like an agreement with a client. Based on that agreement, you can have different period in which you are issuing invoices. Those invoices can, over the time, be scaled up with new agreements and the renewal of those agreements that can also go through indexation. So that's all built in that feature. It can work with usage data as well. So there are definitely limits. It's not a solution comparable to, let's say, zone billing, which is next level, I would say. But for a simple recurring billing, it should suffice. Like obviously, it would require analysis of the requirements, but it is a simplistic recurring billing solution.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, and we are actually now ready to continue downstairs.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, everyone, and have a good rest of the day.